Hey, it's Soul with another video, and I'm going to show you how to give yourself an even better view of the playing field in World of Warcraft with a neat trick. It just requires some extra explaining, that way you can tweak your experience exactly the way you like. I've covered this years ago, but I thought I'd do it again for anyone who's new, so hit the like button, subscribe for more coverage, and let's talk. The other day, a guildmate referred to me a quasi video that went over how to make your game look good and see more on your screen with a few tweaks. I watched it, and it was good, and if you're interested, I suggest giving it a full watch. It goes very much in depth with how graphic settings work. One thing was missing though, and it was a method on how to actually see more on your screen. Right now in World of Warcraft, your character is, you can see on the screen right here in the middle, and your screen is divided into kind of two halves. There's the area in front of the character, which is what you're looking at mostly, and then there's this area kind of behind the character, as if you're watching their back for enemies or incoming projectiles, swirls that you don't want them to back into, and so on and so forth. I'm going to pose a question though. How much of this area, the area behind your character, do you actually need to see at a given time? Certainly you want to see like as much of in front of you as possible. Bosses and encounter rooms are pretty big. Sometimes there are big projectiles that are telegraphed from a great distance, and seeing more of what's in front of you without having to adjust your camera would be pretty helpful. With that in mind, having a greater zoom distance does help. Many users might be used to using this console command to increase the zoom distance beyond the default setting. The difference is this to this. You may already be using add-ons that have already increased this view distance, but just in case, and if there's nothing else to take away from this video, use this console command. Just type this into the chat box, hit enter, and then zoom out a little bit further. However, your viewing angle is locked to your character being at the center of the screen. It limits the effectiveness of this view distance. I'm going to show you how to change the angle of your camera so your character is off of the center and you can see much more of what's ahead of you. First, you want to download an add-on called DynamicCam. A link to it is in the video description. Also, for your sanity, download BlizzMove. It'll let you move windows around, and it's going to help out a lot when you want to tweak the camera just the way you like it. With BlizzMove and DynamicCam installed, you can access the latter from the menu and the add-ons tab, or you can just type in /DC for DynamicCam. This is a very powerful camera add-on that manipulates the camera using conditions and triggers and settings, and it can pull off some really awesome tricks to improve immersion when talking to NPCs, navigating through different areas, and more. But we're not going to cover any of that stuff. All we're going to look at here is how to see more on your screen, mostly for the purposes of combat. With the DynamicCam menu open, we'll go over the settings. Over here in standard settings, the maximum camera distance might already be set to 39. That's as zoomed out as we can be, even past the default settings. If it's not done already, go ahead and set it to the max, and we'll come back to this tab in just a moment. Click on the Situations tab next to Standard Settings. Under Select a Situation to set up, click on the arrow to open the pull-down menu and take a look. You should see that with the exception of maybe AFK, every other scenario profile there should be grayed out. If something isn't grayed out, select it and then uncheck the Enable box next to the pull-down menu. This is part of the menu that lets the camera angle and zoom change in different situations, hence the name DynamicCam. Again though, we're just working on changing the default and we're disabling everything else. With that done, return to the Standard Settings tab, and under the side menu, click on Vertical Pitch. And hey, check that! Just by turning this on, we can see that our character is just within the bottom 25% of the screen when we're zoomed all the way out, as opposed to staying exactly in the middle. When zooming in, you can see that the camera angle adjusts a little bit, but the character is still kind of below center. For me, this never gets old. It's such a dramatic change that lets me see a lot more of the area in front of me and only a minimal sacrifice of what's behind me. I could still probably see swirlies and incoming patrols and more. Playing with the pitch here lets you adjust the ratio of what's behind versus what's in front, even being able to see more behind you if you crank the setting all the way up to 0.99. Or you can pull it all the way to 0.01, and now your character's at the bottom of the screen. It's barely visible behind the default UI. It's pretty cool being able to see how the camera angle alters the scale between you and the rest of the world. It makes you feel smaller than ever. Functionally though, this is Probably not the best setting for most people, with many people's setups having their buttons like around this area, so it's up to you to decide where that sweet spot is. I suggest that at first, maybe try out the default setting of 0.4 just to get used to the orientation, because playing like this might feel a little bit off at first. The only other setting that I found to be worth messing with here is the downscale slider. This adjusts how intense your current pitch is whenever you're looking over your character. If it's cranked all the way up to a ratio of 1, it's going to take the full value of whatever pitch you have, and it'll apply itself the same way every time, no matter where your camera is oriented. You can see here that my character is positioned towards the bottom, same as when I'm looking ahead and if I go back and forth. But when the downscale is set to a ratio of 0, that means 0% of the pitch setting is applied to your camera as it moves towards an overhead position. Personally, I tend to keep mine at 0 because, as a tank, there are times when I'm only looking overhead and I do need a full view of what's around my character. Otherwise, I'll enjoy the increased angle when facing forward again. I should also point out that while mounted, your pitch has a different angle as well. The default setting works fine as is, in my opinion, but if you want to kind of turn it off, set the pitch flying to 1, and that should pretty much feel like how it always does, and then play with these settings until you're satisfied. The most immediate consequence is that it'll probably alter the layout of your UI a bit. Players tend to keep their elements away from their character so they can watch for hazards. So in the end, you may only end up making only some modest tweaks, but a little angle goes a long way. That's the guide, but DynamicCam is a pretty fun and powerful add-on if you want to alter the look and feel of WoW. I suggest trying it out and exploring it a little bit deeper. Otherwise, please like the video if it was helpful, subscribe for more coverage, catch me live, and I'll catch you later. Stay safe, stay healthy, and stay breezy.